Hey moms, what's up? It's your girl Sharita, the Behavior and Literacy Strategist, coming at you from the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, where you can find solutions for both your child's behavior and literacy challenges. I hope y'all having a beautiful morning. I am still at it, y'all. I'm outside the gym. And I woke up this morning. It's becoming very easy for me to get up and just go to the gyms. I told myself I'm just going for a walk and I go on the treadmill. It's great. It's feeling good. It's early in the morning. I got my high bun on, scraping the top of the car. So I got a lot going on right now, but I feel great. And I want to stop in here before I go home and get started with my classes for today. I have to go home, shower, get ready for my classes. I have a good one for y'all. And I want to talk real quickly about the two biggest fears that mom have sending their children to school. The two biggest fears. Okay? First off, let's talk and then what we can do about it. First off, let's talk about it's hard as a mom at first when when your baby reaches a certain age. Good morning, sis. Good morning, Evelyn. How are you today? I hope you're having a beautiful morning. This is a good one about mom's two biggest fears that we have sending our children to school. And I want to talk about it because I know this personally as a mom, and also when I talk to moms, I was asking, what are your biggest, tell me about your biggest concerns, okay? And it really starts when, after we have our children and then it's time for us to go back to work. If we start daycare, right? I started daycare with my oldest. My second, I didn't even do daycare, okay? But my oldest, I was a mental health specialist in Newark, New Jersey. And after 6 months, I went back to work. I tried to stretch it out as long as I could and went back to work. And I took her to a daycare. I was so nervous. And I was so worried about my baby, right? That separation is real. So when you send your child to school, when you send your child to daycare and you send your child to then school, it's a little bit of the same. You want your child to be safe. You want them to be okay. You want them to, when they're in school, you want them to do well. You don't want to hear anything negative about your child. And for the moms that I work with, when they are hearing getting negative reports, they're getting phone calls home, they get text messages about their child's behavior, and also emails. That's their biggest fear. Their biggest fear, of course, you want your child to be safe, but aside from that, when you send them to school, you want them to get a good education. So a lot of moms are worried that with their child continuing to have these behaviors, that it's going to turn into something that they can't control, the school can't control. And then most of the time, if not all the time, this behavior is getting in the way of their academic growth as well. So the students are acting out in school, refusing to work, and then they're also falling behind academically. They're also reading below grade level. They're also functioning below grade level. They need a lot of assistance. And then they end up you end up as a mom, they suggest that you fill out this paperwork so your child can get into special education or get special education services. So a lot of moms that I talk to, that's their fear. Their fear is their child's behavior gets so out of hand that the teacher can't handle it. They can't handle it from home. Their child ends up in special education. Some of the moms that I work with, their child is already in special education and they think that's their last stop. And then, we talk about that here. Like, we focus on getting our children to function independently, improve their reading and math, how they function at or above their grade level so they can transition out of special education back into the general education experience, right? So one of the biggest fears that mom had in the moment, we talk about in the moment, the thing that makes moms nervous throughout the day, they can't even relax. They can't even take a nap if they need to. They can't even focus on work, okay, is getting that phone call from school. about their child behaving, or their child throwing a tantrum and nobody can calm them down. Can you imagine for a mom how that feels? It's the same feeling when you first drop your child off at daycare and you worry about them. You want them to have a good day. It's so hard for you to leave them there, okay? Or Maya just started, my youngest, who's 5 years old now, she just started preschool this year. Evelyn, she started preschool, and when the nurse would call, I'm like, and the nurse knows this. At that school, they always do this. If they call, they say, hi, how are you? And then they say, first, everything's fine. Don't worry, because they know that phone call home to moms is very nerve-wracking. It makes moms worry. They get scared. The biggest fear. So that's one of the biggest fears, is getting those calls that your child is acting out, misbehaving, they can't get calmed down, they need you to talk to them. Some moms experience this every single day or a couple of times a week, okay? One mom I met, she was experiencing this, and then they were saying that the child had to come home. You know, they couldn't have the child in school anymore, or they have to find another mom. They had to find an alternative school for them because they can't function in school. Can you imagine how stressful that is? So that's one of the biggest fears. The other biggest fear is for your child to be falling behind academically, to have those meetings and to be hearing that your child is reading below grade level, your child is doing math below grade level, they can't keep up with the class, right? And they suggest things for you to do at home, but for you to constantly be hearing that your child is performing below grade level, okay? So we're going to talk about how to conquer those two biggest fears, okay? So that moms, you can know that your child is going to school. You know that your child is safe, right? First of all, you want to make sure that they're safe. But you know they're having a successful day. You know they're interacting positively with their peers, and they're also following directions and interacting positively with the teachers, right? And also that your child is performing the way that they should. You don't have to worry it's something wrong, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to, as a mom, assess for yourself. You want to talk to the teacher and find out what specific challenges your child is having in the classroom, and get it from the perspective of the teacher, right? The reason I say that is because when you want the teacher to talk to you about when she is teaching a lesson, what your child does. If she's trying to teach the rest of the children, if she got to get up from her desk, or she has to walk away from your child to assist another child, what does the child does? What is your child doing that's making her job more difficult every single day? You want to find that out, because if she can't teach in the class without the disruption, then she's going to be referring your child out. If your child has tantrums in the school, then people have to come to the class and handle that, or security has to come if your child's fighting in school. You want to know what the experience is. See, a lot of times, because we have this fear. Hi, Judy. Good morning. We have this fear of our children's getting those phone calls, that we're not proactive about it. We hope everything goes well. Then when they start to act out and have big problems, we get that phone call or that email or that text that makes us feel anxious, and now we're not in control. So what you want to do is you want to talk to the teacher, and you want to find out and find out your child's daily habits from day to day, okay? And when you find that out, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to then take notes. You're going to take notes on your child's habits at home and see if there's a correlation, see if there's a link, see if there is a common pattern of behavior between school and home. For example, if you sit your child down and you want your child to do homework, which a lot of kids don't get homework now, but we moms, we give our kids homework anyway because we want to always see what they can do and learn and coach them if they need help, right? Or they need to grow, okay? You want to see if you don't intervene, if you don't stand right next to your child, you want to see if what the teacher is saying is the same thing that you're also experiencing at home. And then you want to develop a plan for it. You want to see if your child has trouble with following directions, if your child doesn't follow directions the first time, not just with the homework, but also with cleaning their room or doing a chore or getting ready in the morning or going to bed at night. If at night there's a big to-do to get them to go to bed, and then they wake up in the middle of the night and they're trying to watch TV, they're on a game. If your child is constantly fighting structure and routine, you want to talk to the teacher to see if the same thing is showing up in the classroom. If that's the case, Mom, then at home you can develop an action plan to tackle each of those behaviors that you notice at home, and your teacher is also, child teacher is also noticing in the classroom, okay? I'm going to give you an example. If the teacher is complaining that your child gets out of their seat multiple times, right? That's a big problem. If they're always getting out of their seat and the teacher's complaining about it, because they're supposed to be sitting there behind down waiting for directions, okay? And following directions. And that's causing disruption in school. You see at home, are you seeing the same thing? Two key places that you can see the same thing is when you sit your child down and you want them to do work, schoolwork, academic learning, and they say, I gotta use the bathroom, or I'm hungry, and they get up, or they're dropping their pencil and they're picking it up, or they're hanging out the chair, one foot up in the air, one hand on the chair, on the floor, and it's turned into a big top circus up in there. You know, they doing all of these things, right? Also, check to see when it's time to eat, when it's time to eat dinner. Is your child staying in the seat? Are they gathering what they need to eat, or if you bring it to them if they're really young, right? Or if you make a plate and you put the plate down, are they sitting properly in their chair? Are they getting up out of their seat? Are they moving around a lot? Are they dropping food all over the floor because they're not sitting properly? Are they trying to get up from eating, go in the living room and watch TV and then come back? Are they, those kind of things? If that's the issue, you want to focus on those two areas. You want to develop a plan for them to remain seated when it's time for them to do work and when it's time for them to have dinner. You work on that until it improves. Then when you talk to the teacher, you want to see if she's seeing some improvement in the classroom. When you're teaching this to your child at home, you're going to say, this is how I want you to sit. You're going to use I want statements. When I was teaching in the classroom, and then when I teach here as well, I teach virtually now. I tell my students exactly what I want to see. When I was in the classroom, this will help you more because you're together. I would tell them, I want your feet on the floor. I want your hands on the table. I want you looking down at your paper. If you're finished your work, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to show me that you're done. I don't want to hear any talking at all. You're not allowed to yell out, done, when you're done. I couldn't stand it. I didn't allow my students to do that. They had to show me they're done. And when I was ready, when I was finished with the student, or when I was looking around to see who's ready so I can call them up for an individual conference, we can look at their work, right? Or make some corrections, coach them a little bit. I'm only calling the kids who are sitting exactly the way I want them to sit. So when you're teaching your child and you say, I want this and I want this and I want this, and you're going to say, I want you to do the same thing in the classroom. If you're in the classroom and you're sitting in the chair, your feet are on the floor, your hands are on the table, you hold on to that pencil, okay? You tell them exactly what you want. What you're doing is they have developed habits of how they sit or don't sit. And a lot of it has to do with, I don't really want to sit. I want to do something else. I don't want to do this work. You know what I mean? And they are used to just getting up, and it becomes a new pattern of behavior. What you're doing, you're disrupting that pattern, and you're making them think about it as well, especially if you prepare them before they even sit down. You say, okay, it's time for homework. What do you need to do to get ready? What do I need to see? And they're saying it out loud. So you're growing their thinking, you're refocusing them, and you're giving them the responsibility of how to sit, okay? and you're doing the same thing when it's time for them to eat dinner. With my youngest, I had to do that with her because she's a little busybody. And then I told her, I gave her a responsibility. When you're finished eating, you're going to rake your plate. You're going to place it in the sink. Not throw it, okay? Saving my dishes. You're going to place it softly in the sink. You're going to take the rag, walk over the table, and wipe your little spot. Where does the rag go when you're finished? Okay? So give your child a routine. Give them the responsibility. Set the expectation. And tell them the same thing in the classroom. What you want to see in the classroom. Talk to the teacher and let the teacher know what your solution is for the problem that she's having in the classroom. Let her know that you're working on it from home, and then you want to measure. You want to measure every day from home the progress, but you want to be proactive and then contact your child's teacher like once a week to say, how are they doing with sitting? Take one goal at a time. How are they doing with the sitting? Are you seeing any improvement, right? Take one goal at a time. And then if you get a good report, then you can let your child know what's going to happen if you get a good report. If you don't get a good report, you let your child know what's happening then. I want to make a quick suggestion. A lot of the go-to for children's behavior is the consequences: take away their game, take away their phone, take away, right? Because they love the phone and the game so much. 2 suggestions, actually. If that's the case, they need to be having less access to the phone and the game and things of that nature. They should have more in their day where that's helping them grow and think and work, right? Academically and chores like that. And then they have time where they can play the game, that's fine. So that shouldn't be the only consequence. The other suggestion that I would make is if they get a bad report from school that they kept jumping up out of their seats, guess what the consequence is? You're going to practice sitting right now. And then you just go through it again. This is what I want to see. Your teacher said you was doing this, this, and this. Is that what you're supposed to be doing? No. What are you supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be doing this, this, this. Show me. And practice. And we're going to practice right now. And you sit there, and I want you quiet. I want this, and I'm going to go over here. When I come back, when I walk past this room, this is what I want to see. You want them to understand that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So that will grow them in that behavior. When we take things away from them, and that's all we do, because, of course, they shouldn't be living their best life playing their game and on the phone doing whatever they want to do when they're not listening to school, they're not listening at home and everything, right? So they should definitely take a break from that. But they should also have a consequence that reminds them of what they're supposed to be doing, grows them, and then practices. When you keep doing that, they are developing new habits. And the expectation is still there. When we just take away the game and we don't have them grow their thinking and talk through and work through and then practice, even if they don't want to, the sitting down, right? When you do that, then they don't, it's something, to them, it's like you're frustrated, so you took the game. It's not about me, what I did. You're frustrated because you got a bad report at school, so you took the game. It's not fair. I like my game. Mommy always taking my game. And then they will just be pouting and then trying to get you to get them the game back and say, how can I get my game back? Not what do I need to do to earn my game back, but how do I get my game back? In a child language, that is whining, crying, maybe continuing the behavior so that you think it's not going to work and then you just give it to them, right? That kind of thing. So we have to always put structure around it, okay? So that's the first thing that's just a behavior example. Now, if you're getting the other fear that moms have, which is their child reading below grade level, and your teacher is saying, I've been teaching this, your child is not getting it. One thing that I heard younger, when my daughter was younger, was they're not grasping the concepts, right? For this, which, it wasn't that. This is why you have to be very specific when it comes to your child, and it has to be customized, because children may be in school and it looks like they don't understand or they can't do it, but really they don't want to do it. So they are not focused on it. They're putting the answers wrong on purpose. They're asking for help because they don't want to do it by themselves, right? So that was the case with my daughter, because I had been teaching her at home, and I know she knew. But if your child is not understanding this, you look at it at home. You actually teach her specifically, what is it that you're teaching right now that my child is not getting, and then ask her, what is she seeing? Okay, I was going to say, how do you know? But that might come off like defensive, because you know how we could be about our babies, right? Right, ladies? You know how we could be about our babies. What are you seeing? Okay, I asked my child's teacher, but she said my daughter was reading below grade level when I knew she was advanced. And she was actually taking chapter books to school in her book bag that she would read at lunch, right? She said that she tested her in reading, and she's reading below grade level. And then I asked her, I was very confused. And back then I wasn't as good at working with teachers as I am now. Okay, I'll be quite honest. Okay, so I was very confused, and I was like, what? And then I was defensive about it, and I asked her, well, what does she sound like when she reads aloud in class? And the teacher was like, she couldn't answer me because she wasn't listening to her read aloud. I was listening to her read aloud. She used to read to me all the time, right? So this is why, as moms, we have to make sure we have our children reading aloud all the time, and we're listening and not intervening and trying to fix it for them or tell them the answer in a moment. We got to listen and see how they actually read. How do they see the words? Where are their struggles, right? Because in school, they don't have to read aloud. So when they test them, it's the testing at school is not focused on what their level really is. What I mean by that is it could come off with the wrong results, because it doesn't account for their behavior in a moment or their thinking in a moment. I don't want to do this. I talked to my daughter, come to find out, she wanted to go to art. Everybody was going to art and she couldn't go, probably because she was taking too long to do her test and playing around. So she just put anything so she could go to art. Boom. Now she's the test shows that she's reading below grade level, right? So it's good to communicate with the teacher and find out, what are you seeing in class? When you're teaching, what are you seeing? Not just what can my child do, but what are they doing when you're teaching? So if there is a behavior, if they're unfocused in class, your teacher say they are focused, they get distracted, you gotta make a plan for that. If they're saying that we're teaching and she's struggling, if I ask her to read something and she has a hard time pronouncing the consonant blends, or she has a hard time pronouncing the suffixes at the end, what suffixes? Okay, you take those and you work with them at home. You put them on index cards. You practice them with your child. You hang them up, right? Whatever it is. Or your child has difficulty with spell. This is why I noticed when they have to spell a word, your child's writing, they're having a lot of difficulty in writing. Can you please send me a writing sample? You got to work with your child on that writing sample and find out from your child. Ask your child to read it. If they can't read their own writing, that's something to work on too. Have them rewrite something, whatever the topic was the teacher said gave them. Have them rewrite it. Have them read it to you. Coach, find where their issues are, and develop an action plan and coach them on it. Okay. Then work with them at home. Measure it every day that you do it. Measure the progress, right? Have them review whatever they wrote last time. If they wrote 3 paragraphs, have them every time they work on the writing again, start reading from the first paragraph. I do that with my students all the time. You just wrote the 3rd paragraph yesterday. All right, read the 3rd paragraph. Now read everything from start to finish. So they get a connection with their writing. And then they find more mistakes themselves. Oh, I really meant to say this, right? And they learn how to pay close attention to their writing. When you go through that process, and there's a couple other things that I do with my students as far as writing, then in the school it's going to show up too. if your child begins writing at home. So you're going to assess every time they do it, and wherever they're making progress, you let them know. Wherever they need to work on, they practice, and then you're going to check it with the teacher like once a week. You're going to ask the teacher when is the next writing assignment, right? And what you want is, you want a comparison. You want the first sample that they sent home, and then you have that still, and then when they write again, you want the new one, and you want to see if there's growth. Okay, so we're constantly, when you are working on something from home and you are collaborating with the teacher, right, you're showing support in the classroom as well. You're working, and teachers seeing, your child's teacher is seeing improvement in the behavior that you're targeting, and they're also seeing an improvement in the academic area that you're targeting as well. Teachers more likely to work with you, and then your child knows that there's a bridge between my mom and my teacher talk, right? My students be like nervous about me talking to the teachers, because I always talk to the teachers too, because kids are slick. Okay, I'm gonna have to call her right back. So then I'm gonna have to be like, Jazzy, why you put it up? I started going to the gym, and Maya started calling me. She called me while I was on the treadmill, and I was like, Maya, I can't talk while I'm on the treadmill, honey. I said, you want me to fall off? And I showed her a video when I came home to show her exactly what it looked like. You can't be talking on the phone while you're on the treadmill, right? So so make sure that you have that connection, and you work with your child's teacher. You're resolving the problem. They're more likely to work with you. The children know, your child knows that they are, you and the teacher are on the same page, not you're at odds, because you're frustrated, the teacher's frustrated, your child is not taking responsibility or have the accountability, because your child knows how to keep getting out of it. You're focused on helping the child, teachers focused on helping the child. Your child is trying to make it the easiest experience that they can, right? So we're gonna take that, and then y'all in a fight with each other, or getting defensive, right? Because so we're gonna take the responsibility off of you and your child's teacher, and we're gonna put it on your child. And I know a lot of people disagree with me when I say this, but this is exactly what I do. And I see a tremendous amount of growth with my students when that happens, when they know that this is my responsibility. Oh, I have to look at this. I can't blame the teacher. I can't blame my mom. I have to actually look. It's my responsibility to catch this and to do this and to work on this, right? So yes, I'm tough on my students, but the growth that I see from them, and then how good they feel about themselves when they start to report back to me. I'm doing better at this. I'm doing better at this. I'm doing better at that. Can I read my writing now? Can I read out loud? When my students were leaving and we started working on something else, she's like, Miss Sharita, when are we going to read another story again? Because they're going to kindergarten, they're starting to read first grade level stories. So they're getting excited about that. We're going to read another story again, Miss Sharita. We didn't work on our sight words today, because they work on the sight words every day, but I was introducing my sight words. We were going to work on my sight words today, and they were asking this, okay? So, but this is after pushing them, all right? So don't be afraid to push them. I always say this. And also, work with your child's teacher. Develop a plan from home a customized plan. Your child's teacher has a classroom of kids, but you got your baby, okay? So not customize help, a customized action plan where your child's going to grow, have accountability, and they're going to do better, okay? And for that, you have to turn down the nurturing a little bit, moms, okay? Where you want to just come in and, like, if I nurture my child enough, then my child is going to be fine. But your child has to have responsibility. So you're going to turn that down some, and you're going to raise their expectations and accountability. When they have to do their work, this is their responsibility, okay? When they need a hug, or if they fall or hurt their knee, or, you want to cook up some good old food and stuff, turn it up. Do what you do. But when they have to do that work and they have to learn, you got to be harder on them, because you're not always there. And when they're in the classroom, they can't be expecting that nurturing and that one-on-one attention when it's something that they have to do. So let's train them to function independently, okay? You got this. I'm going to go home and get ready for my class. I'm going to call my baby because she calling me. She thinks she got a phone. She don't. We just have an extra phone in the classroom. Sometimes she be text messaging me on, and her father. Me and her father went out on a date. She over here calling and texting. Right? So I'm going to head on home. All right? I love y'all. And thank you so much for hanging me today, Evelyn and Judy. Thank you so much for your time. For more information on how to improve your child's behavior and literacy from home, go to growthinstitute.mykajabi.com. That's GROWTH Institute.mykajabi.com, y'all. All right? I love y'all. Have a great day. Believe in yourself. Believe in your child, honey. Believe in your child, honey. And always remember that growth is unlimited. Peace.